right, so here what I also want you to look at is, okay, besides circling in your list, this is your second checklist, what are some of the areas that you want to work on? The other thing too is that, as you can see here, the only part, okay, first let me ask you this. Do you agree that you have a physical part that is different in needs and the likes than your mental part? Different than your emotional part? Different than your spiritual part? Okay, so they're all very different. And although they all come together and form what is the whole you whole and complete, in that one aspect of being whole and complete, that's all who you are. Yet the only part that you can really see is this one, the physical part. Because you cannot see, hear, taste, touch, and smell the mind. You might have maybe aspects of, you may know what I'm thinking, but you can't see the mind, experience the mind with physical senses. You cannot see, hear, taste, touch, and smell the emotions. You might know if I'm angry or happy, but you don't see the emotional body. You see an expression of that on your body. And you can't see, hear, taste, touch, and smell the spiritual part. They're invisible, they're intangible, they're spiritual. And the intuitive part of you as well. The only one is this one. And yet, and it's no wonder, that's why in part you hear people, especially like Wayne Dyer, who everybody talks to, who everybody quotes, that we're not here as human beings having a spiritual experience. It's the other way around. We're here as spiritual beings having a human experience. And the quality of that human experience depends on you. What are you going to do about it? That's it. So if you have physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, intuitive, 4/5 of who you are is spiritual. It's no wonder he says that in another's phone line. And on top of that, as I think we kind of touched upon this yesterday, when you even take the physical you, we know that with the body is made up of systems. You can see, hear, taste, touch, and smell systems. Systems are made up of organs. Get into the body. I mean, right now you see the eyes, the nose, you have the mouth, aspects of different systems and organs. But you can see organs. You can dissect organs into tissues, and you can see that easily. You can get a microscope and see cells. You can get an electron microscope and see molecules. So they're also becoming, they were at one time, these were considered spiritual in nature because we didn't have access to them. And as we move through time, they become more and more, the more microcosm becomes more visible to us. And now we know we can even get to atoms and subatomic particles and energy. And even then, energy, the stuff of the universe, from where all things come, the stuff of the universe, from where inanimate matter comes from, or animate matter comes from, or human body and mind or animal life comes from. That stuff is still invisible, intangible, spiritual. So at the very core of who we are as concrete physical beings, at the very core of any existence, it's spirit. It's just energy. We are energy beings. It's all about energy. Everything. And at one point in time, we are one with everything else. Just the mere fact that at one time, I don't know who figures this out, there was a little pea-sized thing that exploded into what we now have as a universe, means that we all came from this one little pea. We're just different expressions of it. Just different expressions of it. And the one thing that holds it together, you can call it by anything you want. In the physical body, we say rest. In the mental part, we say meditation. In the emotional, we say internalization. In the spiritual, we say prayer. I don't care what you call it. Going within, centering yourself in the brain frequency spectrum from 0 to 20. 10 is center, that's alpha, centering yourself. going to level, going to alpha, call it whatever you want. The function of how to get there is the same. You have to go within an entry, you deepen, you pray, you program, whatever, and you exit. Same thing. I go into church, I kneel down, I put my hands together, I close my eyes, I take a deep breath, and I pray. Not very different than what I do when I meditate. Not very different at all what I do when I'm resting or I'm touching base with my feelings. That one function that you do, that we call meditation, is what strengthens your connection with spirit, mind, body, emotions, and enhances your intuition and allows you to be in the now and have access to everything as whole and complete. It's what ties it all together. Okay? So what we're going to do as far as an exercise is concerned is something that we call the droplet of source energy. Just knowing the fact that we are, we have that droplet of source energy within us. Otherwise, how can we even be? That is our being. All of us collectively are part of the bigger whole. I read a book called Backwards by Nancy Dennison. Have you read that book? It's a good book. And Nancy Dennison had a beyond death experience. And you hear more and more scientists. In fact, there's this book called The Quantum Enigma. I think it's by Robertson. I think I brought him with me. But anyway, the Quantum Enigma, where they talk about, these are scientists or professors that teach at universities, basically saying, no, we really need to start looking into the whole idea of near-death experiences or beyond-death experiences. Because although we don't have a scientific way to prove what happened, what comes back to us from these experiences are so remarkably the same. And that we can't just overlook it any longer because there's a wealth of information and experience that comes from that. And we're really missing the boat if we don't really focus and start thinking about what these things are all about. And Nancy basically says and comes back with the realization that we are beyond, we are just part of the bigger whole of what we call the energy, the field, God, however you want to refer to that. We are all sparks of that godliness, but we're like droplets. Where God's the ocean, let's say. If you have an ocean and you take a drop away from the ocean, we suddenly call it a drop. Why don't we call it the ocean? We call it a drop. It has the same qualities as the ocean. It has the same salinity, the same chemical composition. Everything about it is exactly the same except for size. Regardless of how far